Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I forgot to use the placemat, and here is our soda water. So we are sitting here waiting for the shift to start. I am at a place called Horn Zibbi, which in Lebanese means here is my shlong. So yeah, weird things can happen these days. Anywho, so what was really funny was this like 6 foot tall model, half Asian, half Islander, half Australian, if that works, was working behind the bar, and I'm telling you now, she looked and smiled. I know that look. That one I know. There was a slight deviation from the horizontal axis in the upwards direction with respect to the mouth. Now, of course, there was a guy in the corner who then looks and says, "I don't think you're going to get her." And I'm thinking, I wasn't trying to. And she looked at me, my friends. So there you go. So here's an interesting thing about anxiety. Ooh, L. Brooks is here. L. Brooks, A, and Moby Dick. So, I had to leave the house today to come and drive the bus, which I'm doing 4 nights in a row this week. And that's a big deal because it requires the fighting of depression. Now, it takes a huge amount of psychological energy to do that. It's a constant reminder to you guys. You never completely get over it. It was 11 years since the recovery from the suicide attempt. And for all intents and purposes, you know, touch wood, doing amazingly well. But it's not something that ever goes away. It's like going to the gym. Constantly you have to do that to maintain your strength, your bone density. So it's important to do that. And so I'd like to remind you guys that if anyone's going through that type of thing, it is important to fight against it to get to the point where you can leave the house without too much psychological, I guess, adversity. Time is it for you guys? Probably early morning now, right? So anyway, I don't know if I still got my ponytail in my head. I can't even tell. Oh, crap. Anyway, yeah, whoa, there we go. So now it's actually gone backwards a bit, because studying mathematics and physics actually was an amazing comfort zone. 7 a.m. good morning. And that comfort zone actually makes the anxiety worse when you have to go do something outside of that comfort zone. So your choice is never really one. 11 p.m. Close. It is 10 p.m. 10:08. And I have to start driving the bus in. Let's see if this is a better... Oh, that's better. Is that better? Can't even tell if that's... Let's see if that's a bit better. I think that's slightly better. Now I can see you. Anyway, yeah. So I'm sitting in this empty room. Let me show you the room. It's a place that I'm guessing does very well on the weekends out here in Here Is My Shlong. And the suburb is called Here Is My Shlong. Now, obviously I don't think they meant for that to be the case. Anyway. So it's a battle for the rest of your life. If anyone naturally suffers from depression for whatever reason, it's something you're always going to have to battle. So it is not where it's ever going to completely go away. It's something that you learn to deal with for the rest of your life, and you help moderate it. Here is my shlong. It's called Hornsby. Hornsby, Hornsby. But you see, Hornzibbi, if you pronounce it Hornzibbi, that translates from Lebanese to here is my shlong. So Horn is here is, and Zibbi is shlong mai. Here is shlong mai. So that's how it works here. So crazy. How was your lovely young family, my dear? I hope you are well. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you and Jazzy Miz. So what can I tell you? Shlong, funny word, yeah, I know. Being out in public is never easy for the autist in terms of anxiety stimulant. It's an anxiety stimulant. But like I said, you can't run away from these things. And I will keep doing these scopes as often as hopefully necessary. But it's a good reminder to people who are going through worse anxiety, because you're closer to dealing with the trauma in 4 dimensions. So, you know, me dealing with it, the crisis was the suicide 11, nearly 12 years ago. And from then you climb up backwards to a point, but you can always slip back. So I just like to remind people that it is not something, as I've said, that, you know, once you dealt with it, oh, you're going to be fine. No, it doesn't work that way. And just like, you know, if you see a bird trying to learn how to fly, it takes off, crashes, takes off, crashes. So you're going to have setbacks. You're going to go backwards multiple times. But you will eventually, as long as you keep pushing, you will get forward and stay forward. So I got too comfortable teaching on gapversity and doing the physics and the maths because that alleviates anxiety completely. I'm in a zone when I'm doing that stuff. I feel amazing. I just feel normal. I don't realize until I have to leave the house. So that's one of the issues where you don't even want to cure the anxiety in a way, because if you think you've cured and gotten rid of it, then when you have to step into a zone that's not comfortable, it actually comes back even stronger. So it's important to sort of constantly force yourself to go out of your comfort zone and find ways of dealing with it. It's not an easy thing. But you do stuff like you make sure you talk to someone every couple of weeks. You make sure you exercise every day, as I do. Like today, I did like less than 5 minutes of weights, and I did an hour of cycling while I was doing a periscope. Actually, I think one of the scopes I did today. You have that with your PTSD, yeah. Yeah, I believe that, yeah, definitely. So for different reasons, we have psychological trauma, right? In my case, you know, it is what it is, as you guys know. And you know, you have your PTSD, and people had narcissistic parents, for example, and were traumatized by that. But you can become stronger from it instead of letting it defeat you. Coming back to the autism, I have one of my former students who's, I think, one of the biggest weaknesses for him is his mother, and and it's not her fault at all, but you know, she also didn't go through the best life, and somehow takes it out on the son, I think subconsciously. And I never told her that for a while, but that's actually had a rebound effect or a reverse effect, which makes him actually it makes him more dependent, so he can't leave the house because psychologically he's just not able to do it. But then in turn that makes him seem weaker, which makes him hate himself. And then it makes the mother wonder why her son is such a loser or whatever. Like, I wouldn't go that far, but something, you know, not nice. But ironically, it's her that's creating it. But then there's some sort of payoff. I hypothesize that that she needs him in the house for company, because without him she'd be too lonely. So she somehow psychologically keeps him there. And I think a lot of mothers do that, and I don't blame them at all. I don't blame them at all, because it must be, from what I can see, it's something that I cannot comprehend, the bond that they have. It's something I try to infer, but I can't see it. So, yeah, graduation's in 3 weeks as well. So that's going to be interesting. And in terms of the book, as I've told people on Gab Life, I created a criticism page. So it's called Real Speaking Human. So it's facebook.com/Real Speaking Human. And I'm filling in the gaps because the book is extremely potent as a collection of short stories linked all around Jamil's life. And it's being told from Adrienne's perspective, but she has a ghostwriter and I'm the ghostwriter. Alright, so that's roughly how it works. And Jamil, who she's talking about, is me as well. So it's an interesting concept. But it's so potent that there are gaps, I guess, for the average reader, the one who reads for fun. And so what we're doing is, based upon those gaps, I'm filling them in on that page to add some backstory to each of the short stories within the book. And that'll help. But one of the things that my psych likes to remind me of is that I see things in extremes. Now, I don't mean to do that, but I do have an extremist type of tendency, right? Where, for example, if someone does something what I would consider unacceptable, then I don't hate them, and if they're in trouble, I'll still help them. But I don't want anything to do with them, and that won't change ever. Now, people call that harsh. I don't mean to be harsh. That's not my intent. My intent is that there is this and there is this. If you don't fit, no problem. All the best to you. I don't want to do anything to do with you. I'm trying to think why I had to bring that up. Yes, and that's love listening to you. What do you do for work? Thank you, Jazzy. That's very kind of you. What do I do for work? Tonight I'm driving a bus, but I do tutoring. I'm the same way. I get called cold. Oh, that's funny. There you go. And you actually don't mean it, right? That's because we judge others by their worst behavior and ourselves by our best intentions, right? Which I only heard recently. Which I think some speechwriter wrote it for George Bush of all people, which is hilarious. So there's a lot of things, for example, in my case, there's a lot of things that produce anxiety that tend to be around people. And that is because of the autism. So what people don't notice, and you guys know this more than others, you get the insight into the world, but it takes a lot of psychological effort to appear neurotypical enough. And I'm still making mistakes. Like, you'll know I have my earplugs in. Some people think they're hearing aids. And for example, I'll show you my pants, right? You can see. So I have pants under my pants. Now it turns out my top pants, I have to wear them for work, so I do it. But they're too short, so my actual pants come out from underneath. Now, I don't notice that until someone else brings it up, because in my brain, I don't see it. Now, people coming on the bus, I have to remember, make eye contact, say hello, nod their head. If they don't say hello back, it doesn't mean they hate you. It means that it could mean many other things. Perhaps they have earphones in, they're thinking of work. So these are all the stuff that if you have high-functioning autism, you have to be taught to think these things. It's completely unnatural to come to those conclusions. Your natural response is, why aren't they being responsive, right? Now, it's funny because growing up, I didn't even care about that. It was only after I learned that you had to say hello to people at around 26 that was the case, where then I thought, well, I have to say hello, then how come they're not saying hello back? So, all these different things. But then you remember the good things. Like, for example, I'm sitting in this bar, and immediately you start having thoughts of when I was, for example, one of the stories in the book was when I was at a dance party. I think the first and last dance party I ever went to, and some girl was getting pushed to dance with the younger Jamil, and I didn't know what to do, so I did the bolt, but I was still a bit wonky, so I bolted like a bunny rabbit out of the dance floor. So when I'm sitting here in this place, I'll show you. All right, this place is filled up with all of those 13-year-olds, and I'm back to being 13 again, right? So you have these, that's just normal PTSD. This is nothing different to what a lot of people go through, must be dealt with. Obviously, in my case with the savant brain, I remember things in a way that perhaps is, you'd rather forget certain things. The other thing about the autist is the short-term memory that they have is non-existent. So it makes it almost impossible to prioritize. So one of the things I used to do to help with my anxiety was have my to-do list in front of me always. But you can't do that when you're driving a bus. Obviously, you can't have your phone on and stuff. Excuse me. So that causes a lot of anxiety because you feel like, oh no, am I behind in something? Have I not done something? Oh my God, I better check. I should check again. And it becomes a bit compulsive in that sense. But it might be OCD, but it's not directly OCD. It's because of the short-term memory missing. So that's one of the reasons I carry these bum bags, for those of you who know me from before, because I will lose anything. Like, it's like you're holding it, then it's gone. So for the autist, at least for the high functioning, when you leave the house, it's almost like your pants aren't on. General anxiety and panic attacks. Ouch. Yeah, that's not pretty. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it gets better for you. And yeah, always see a psych. I see my psych every 3 out of every 4 weeks, and I don't see them because I need help. I see them to stay healthy. It's psych. A psych is a preventative measure. I'm just going to pop a citalopram. Sorry. So a psych. Thank you. You as well. Yeah, a psych is a preventative measure. I tell people. So yeah. Anyway, what time is it? All right, I got to go in about 15 minutes, so I might head off now. and have a chat to our Patreon people, see how they're doing. And I've got to get this meds back in the box, and that's about it. So I'm probably going to check my to-do list to make sure I haven't forgotten anything for today, and then I'll be okay to sit in the bus. And then once I drive the bus, I'll have a break in about 30 minutes. I'll check again to make sure I haven't forgotten anything, and that'll keep happening. It's like a fish in the bowl, it's going around and around. But it's lovely to see everybody. Keep strong. As always, life is a beautiful tragedy, but it does not have to be a hell. This is a great saying I heard from Jordan Peterson, I think it was. All right, until next time, if you like, go to the facebook.com/gabsmacked. Yeah, facebook.com/gabsmacked, and there's a store, and you can get stuff, if anything there you like. And if there's something there you want that's not there, you're always welcome. Then let me know and I'll try and make it for you. So then we can not have to drive buses as much. All right, guys. Mwah. Live life one smack at a time. Gab smacked.